So I have a math problem for you. When do two problems equal one solution? Well, I am about to show you that today and show you what I'm up to. Okay, so you might be able to tell, although I know the lighting is terrible because it's one of those early autumn days where there's super bright sun and really dark shady corners, but this is mostly a shade spot right here. And this is an area of the garden that I've had issues with throughout the years. First of all, it wasn't an area I used to walk by regularly, but now it's, as you can see, it's on a path to the vegetable garden. So I walk down this area every day. The other issue I have here is that since this is kind of the borderline between where there's what I call more natural areas, which is parts of our yard that I've not intervened on and I just sort of let whatever grows there grows, and the cultivated part of the garden, things start to creep in. And in particular, those are ostrich ferns over here, which I have a lot of ostrich ferns on this property and I love them. They're great, but they are aggressive and they are actually considered a ground cover, even though they're like a 7 foot tall ground cover, but they do spread. So I do have to kind of keep them in check. Anyways, this area gets overrun with all sorts of weeds and all kinds of bad things. And earlier this year, I ripped it all out, took care of those weeds again. And then because I was having a garden tour come through here, I was like, well, what am I gonna do in this spot? And I couldn't figure it out. I ended up buying this pot that you see down here on sale, and I've been using this as like a little floating flowers thing, and it's kind of a nice little spot. I love it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I've actually decided that I'm going to keep this in this location. I will probably put this pot in the garage for winter, but in general I'm going to keep this in this location, and I've got some annuals planted around it now, but the rest of this area needs to be filled in. So this is problem area number one, what to do with this. This time of year, I don't love spending money on plants. I'm sort of burned out by spending money on plants. So it's this time of year, I like to look around what I have and around my garden to see where I can move around and divide and what I can take from my own garden so that I can do these projects without ever having to spend a cent. So let me show you the next problem, and then I think you're going to start to get an idea of what the solution here is. Okay, so here we are, problem number two. I think if you watch some of my other videos, I might have mentioned this year. So this is the circle garden, and everything's been going really well here. I've got bobo hydrangeas here. This is Hakonechloa or Hakonechloa. I say it both ways because I truly don't know which way is the right way to say it. All gold, which is one of my favorite varieties of that. That's Japanese forest grass. And then I've got some annuals in the front here. So when I created this garden, this was a much shadier spot than it normally is. Now granted, it's shady right now because the sun is starting to get really low in the sky here this time of year. But during summer, that was not the case because we had taken down a huge ash tree over to the west of where I'm standing here right now. So I knew that there might be too much sun in this area for the Japanese forest grass. And so I thought I'd just play it out this year and see what happened. Well, I was right, because I'm going to show you what this looks like. It's really crispy. It hasn't gotten as tall and as flowy as it should, and it's struggling in this spot a little bit. Let me, in fact, I'm going to show you where it's growing really well in my garden and in a spot of what it looks like when it's in a spot where it appreciates. Let me just show you quickly what it looks like when it's in an area where it's happy, so you know what it should look like and not what it looks like here. Are you guarding the garage? Hello, baby. So over here you can see how great all gold can look when it's doing what it wants to do. This is in a really pretty shady spot. I mean, this is the north side of the garage right here. And you can see that it's got this gorgeous chartreuse color. It's probably 2 or 3 times taller than the stuff that's growing over there. And it's got the beautiful arching effect, which is exactly why you plant this plant. So this is what it should look like and what it will look like once you get it in a spot that it likes. So we have to take care of that problem. So I'm sure you figured out that the solution to these two problems is to move this grass. Now, I don't generally love to move grasses in fall. I like to move grasses when they're just starting to come up in summer, I think, or in spring. I think that's the best time to move them. But This has to get moved anyways. I might as well get this out of here because it's one less thing to have to do in spring. And I don't think actually I'm going to take all this. I don't think I'll need all of this because this will divide really well. I have a lot of other gardens I'm going to be working on next year, and I love this grass so much that I use this and have places for this all the time in the garden. So I'm just going to start digging this up and dividing it, and then we're going to move it over there. Hey, quick little side note here. I just want to quickly show you this, one of my favorite shade garden plants that's looking great right now. This is toad lily. And it's one of those plants that you don't pay much attention to all year, and then all of a sudden it does this and you start paying attention to it. It always amazes me that looks tropical. These are like these little orchid-like flowers, so beautiful. The deer will nip at it. They won't eat it, but they'll nip at the ends if I let them, so I always keep deer spray on it. They'll nip at anything around here, by the way. But anyways, isn't this just a lovely little flower? It's such a delight. And you know, there just isn't a lot that's blooming in the garden this time of year, especially anything in this kind of color scheme. So I always love it. So I just want to show you that quickly, but let's get back to what we were doing. So while I'm doing this, I will just say, if you guys have been around and watching for a while, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. It makes me feel good that you guys like to see what I'm doing in my garden, and you guys often have such great suggestions, and I appreciate that so much. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Erin, and I live and garden in southeastern Wisconsin, which is zone 5. So, you know, if you're transplanting stuff, don't take your weeds with you to your new spot. So clean out all your weeds and stuff. This one has, I don't know what this weed is, but it's troublesome over here. And I've got grass in here. So I always clean my plants out really well before I move them to their new spot, because I got enough weeds. I don't need to be worrying about taking more weeds with me. So this grass is super easy to divide. This is about the size of piece that I would like to plant. You could even divide that down further if you wanted to. By the way, most of the Japanese forest grass that I have in my yard, the all gold, came from probably maybe 9 plants total, and now I have it everywhere. So you can also, you can just separate it by hand if you want. Like to me, there's a natural break right here, and I can try to separate this by hand and just sort of pry it apart. So that certainly works. But if it's putting up a fight, the easier thing to do is just take your spade, shovels, whatever you got. The key with dividing stuff is just be purposeful about it. Just get in there. So now I've got 3 pretty nice sized pieces there. Let's see what else I have. So here's a piece that certainly is big enough, but it doesn't have an obvious place to divide it. So I'm just going to stick, I think I'll make this 2 pieces, although it could definitely probably go to 3. Stick it right in the middle there. Okay. Give her a good, that one needed a good cutting. Let's see what we ended up with there. So that's a nice size piece, and that's a little bit bigger piece, but that'll be fine too. So that's how you divide this. Dorothy. What are you doing? Dorothy, are you eating grass? So the light is being so obnoxious, but I got those all divided and planted, but I do have one little hole, and I remembered there is this hosta over here, which is a gorgeous, mostly yellow hosta, and as you can tell, it got super fried. I mean, all my hostas are looking a little tired this time of year, but this guy got super fried, and I think as long as I'm rescuing plants and moving around, I'm going to move that guy to the other side of the path. Okay guys, so that is how I just solved 2 problems in my garden and spent nothing. How can you not consider that a win? If you are thinking I have created another problem by now having an empty hole in my circle garden, you would be mistaken, because that, folks, is called an opportunity, not a problem. I have all winter to think about what I'm going to put in that spot, and I think it's still going to be something grass, like maybe a carex or something, but that is the kind of thing that keeps me going over winter, is thinking about these little changes I need to make in the garden. Anyways, I hope this was maybe helpful to you. If you guys don't grow this Japanese forest grass, you really should think about it. It's a great plant. There's many varieties of it. I've got 3 different ones growing in my garden. This all gold is maybe my favorite. And I also want to just quickly, as long as we're over here, I thought I'd do my little arrangement in my floating flowers pond here, whatever you want to call this thing. I have an article on the blog about that, and you can see how I all did it there, and I'll link that below. But I'll just give you the little secret. It's a wine cork in the hole in the bottom and black pond dye in the water, and I never tip it out. I just stick the hose in there and let it overflow, which gets out anything that might be in there that I don't want in there, including pine needles. And then I just start over, and you saw what I did with it. So anyways, I hope you guys are doing something great in your garden. Keep watching the videos. There should be some over on the screen over here, or over here, one of these 2. And if you liked it, do me a favor, give it a like. And if you really liked it, maybe you want to subscribe if you haven't already. So many of you have, and I just want to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. And you have a great day in your garden.